Welcome back, fam. How are you? Are we calling ourselves crew or fam? I think Carry On Crew has a lovely ring to it, so I'm going to go with Carry On Crew. What do you think? All right. We've got an amazing guest today, Amanda. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, proud firewife, and a mama of a 4-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. Ooh, I remember being in that spot with tiny ones. It's a lot to manage. She specializes in and is most passionate about maternal mental health and working with women experiencing perinatal and postpartum mood disorders. Amanda has her own practice in Brea, California. She also sees clients virtually throughout California. She works as the visiting expert for New Mom School in Rancho Cucamonga, where she teaches new mothers about postpartum anxiety and depression. Where was that? Was having babies. I'm just saying. Amanda decided to specialize in maternal mental health after she experienced postpartum depression and anxiety with the birth of her son. She knows firsthand that motherhood comes with immense joy, but can also bring forth challenging emotions. That's putting it nicely. Amanda has been with her husband, a fire captain with CAL FIRE, for 11 years. They've been married for 5, and she also understands the nuances, both good and bad, that come with being a firewife. She's excited to be on the podcast today to shed some light on maternal mental health, both as a therapist and a firewife. We love the culturally competent therapist. I am so excited to have her on. Are you ready to carry on with Amanda? Let's get this podcast started. Okay. Hi, Amanda. Welcome.
Hi. So glad to be here.
I'm very excited to talk to you today. My big thing is always talking to more culturally competent therapists, and you fit the bill. So very excited to have this
Awesome.
conversation with you.
Yeah.
In your introduction, I shared that you have had firsthand experience with postpartum depression and anxiety after your son was born. So I want to hear kind of about your journey and postpartum depression and anxiety and how it actually felt for you, like what it felt
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, so my son was born March of 2021. So I found out I was pregnant in July of 2020, which was 5 months after I got married. So
Ooh.
it was, yes, that wasn't planned and it was during COVID. So that I think in itself started off kind of my anxiety of like, oh my gosh, obviously the world is in a pandemic right now. Like what, so many unknowns. We don't know what's going on. And now I'm pregnant, right? Like, here we go, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I'm a type of person who likes to be in control of everything. I'm very type A. I plan everything. And to have such a huge thing in my life not be on my timing and the way that I wanted it to go was really hard for me. So I think that kind of set the tone. Obviously, after the immediate shock, I was very excited and super happy. Obviously, a little nervous with COVID, um, but yeah, so that's kind of how it started, I think, as I reflect back. Um, so I had a C-section with my son. That also was not planned, not what I planned for
Mm.
at all. And uh, my birth was fine. It wasn't traumatic. I didn't have anything, crazy happen, but it was just not what you expect. You want everything you see in the movies and the baby coming out and put on you and like all of the stuff, right? And none of that happened. I had a mask on. I couldn't take, none of it was the way that I planned. So that I think that was another aspect that really contributed to how I felt postpartum. Um, so yeah, so the way that postpartum depression kind of felt for me, and I will say postpartum depression kind of manifests differently for different people.
Yeah.
A lot of women will tell me, oh, well, I didn't realize I had postpartum depression because I was expecting to be laid out in bed all day, just crying all the time, just extremely, extremely depressed. And yeah, that can be for some women, but for a lot of women, it looks different. It just looks, for me, it was very, I was sad, absolutely. I had my days of crying and stuff, but it was more of just feeling empty, feeling like I wasn't connected, not only to my baby, to my husband, to anybody. My husband would tell me things and stories, and I'm like, I don't even remember. I think I was so
Mm.
just dissociated and just so just like focused on like, what do I need to do in this very moment that I wasn't enjoying motherhood. I was surviving is what I was trying to do. Um, so that's kind of how the depression aspect manifested. I loved my son and I was so connected to him, but I wasn't like fully present, if that makes sense. I was
Yeah.
just going through the motions,
Yes.
if you will. I was just like, okay, well, I should be like playing with him, right? I should be like smiling and like happy. I should be happy. So why, like it was such a disconnect. Um,
Yeah.
I think the anxiety portion of it was what really took its toll on me. The anxiety, of course, of COVID, right? And getting sick. I did get COVID at 8 months pregnant, thanks to my husband,
Oh
which, of course, in the
gosh.
fire service, we know
Mhm.
I felt
Mhm.
like it was inevitable, and it
Mhm.
happened. And so after, of course, I was anxious still. I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do because nobody could, right? We were all still kind of secluded and worried and all of that stuff about getting COVID. And so I had that aspect of it, but then I also had the intrusive thoughts. And looking back, now that I've specialized in maternal mental health and I know a lot more than I did back then, just as a therapist working with kids, I was working with kids back then. Um, I know that I had postpartum OCD. That's what I had. And the difference is more of the amount of intrusive thoughts that were going on in my mind. It was almost constant. I was literally worried about every single thing. I had so many intrusive thoughts about, I think one of my biggest ones I'll share was even going for a walk with my son in the stroller. I had this vision and this thought and this worry that a dog was just going to come out and attack us. That was,
Mhm.
and I would just, I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to drive. I was worried we were going to crash. I was worried, you name it. That was what I was worried about. And I just wanted to stay in our little apartment all the time. And that obviously is not helpful for,
Yeah.
for depression and anxiety, right?
Mhm.
We need our support system. Um, so that's kind of, the bigger aspects, and then throw in being a firewife, right? That's a whole other level, or yeah, I guess we'll level up, a whole other level of this stress, of being a new
Definitely.
mom, not knowing what the heck we're doing, like what is happening, and then our husband leaving for days at a time. At that time, he was working in Highland on like a city engine. He was an engineer, so he would be gone, the 4 days on, 3 days home. That was his schedule. And I just remember, that first shift when he left, I was like, what am I supposed to do with the baby? Like, I was
Mhm.
terrified to be alone with him. Terrified. I was like, what am I going to do? Not that I'm going to hurt him, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. You
Mhm.
trust me to be alone with him? That kind of thing. And I just remember crying so much when he left, and I figured it out. I think as wives, we have to be adaptive, right? We have to figure it out. It's hard at
Totally.
first, but as we, get used to it, and obviously it took me years to get to get to a comfortable position just as a fire partner, I guess. And then throw in the baby. I was like, hold on, I'm going back to where I was, so um but once that happened, I just remember, and this is one thing I do remember vividly as part of my depression, was the day before he would start shift, I would completely just like go inward and very, very like stressed out. It was all like doomsday. I would tell him, I feel like this is this dark cloud like coming over me, knowing you're gonna be alone. You're gonna be alone. Remember, he's leaving for 3 days. What are you gonna do? The baby, mind you, my baby was not sleeping. So my level of exhaustion
Yep.
was on another level. It was not good, which I can talk about that as well. But yeah, he was waking every like hour and a half all night long. Um, so that really played a role in my depression and my anxiety, 100%. And I will say, and I could talk about like things that will help and that can help. And I think what honestly saved me, aside from my husband being the most amazing and understanding and very just in tune to what I needed, he was the one that was like, I think you should really find a therapist. Like, I need you to, you're not, this isn't normal. You're not yourself. You need help kind of thing, which as a therapist, I knew, but I was like, just so in despair that you kind of need the push from somebody else.
So
So
your
that
husband
was,
really was the one to say, "Hey, you gotta
yeah.
do something." Okay, good, good.
Yeah, 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 he was very I mean, he's very observant and he's very, again,
Mhm.
he had been dating a therapist for a long time, so I guess I set him up. I set him up for it.
So he's
He's
paying
very
attention. He's been paying
you know,
attention. Okay.
I always joke and I tell him, like, before he used to be like, if we'd get in an argument, he would be like, "I don't want," like, "I don't wanna talk about it." And now if I'm like he's like, "No, we need to talk." And I'm like, "Dang it, he's using my own tools against me." But, but hey, it works. But yeah, so
Mhm.
he was an immense help. He literally was like, any moment you need to call me, you call me anytime you need. I think one time I was like, please don't go. Please, please, please don't go to work. And he called off. He's like, okay, I won't go. If you really, really need me to stay this day, just know it can't happen all the time. I was like, that's fine, but please don't go. And he didn't. So, I think he still had baby leave at that time. So he's like, okay, I'll just take another week. And I was like, great, let's do that.
Yeah.
But another thing that was, I mean, monumental was my dad. So my dad, and thankfully I have an amazing support system between my parents. And again, at that time, it was still like worried, like, who are you around? That whole thing. Um,
Mhm.
but my dad would come and at night, the nights that my husband was at work, my dad would come at night around 9 p.m. and he would be on baby duty and he'd say, go to sleep, leave, go to sleep. And I will take
Ah,
care of the baby until 2 in the morning. So I would get like a 5 hour stretch.
mhm.
Um, so
Which is
that's
huge.
that huge. You need that. I was like, I can't function like this anymore. I could
Mhm.
not. So that was amazing help that my dad was able to do that. I was like, thank goodness you retired this year because he was home. But my husband is that's how it started. Me and my husband did the shifts. So I always, always, always recommend if you can do shifts with your spouse or partner, do it. Like I know the biggest thing that people say is, oh, well, we're not going to see each other. We're not going to connect anymore. We're not going to be that couple, right? And I get that. I had that same feeling. But in these, especially early moments, you have to push that aside, right? This is just a season. You will get back to that time at night where you can watch your shows together, where you can go to dinner and do all those things. In the moment where if you are really struggling, you need to sleep. Like,
Yes.
and I hate the whole sleep when the baby sleeps, because
Sometimes it's
a
not
lot of
possible.
times that's not that's not a thing,
Exactly.
especially if you have more
Mhm.
than one, right?
Yeah.
There is no sleep on the baby sleeps. Um, but if you can prioritize sleep and allow yourself to say, I need sleep, and it's okay if I might be inconveniencing somebody else in order to get it, do
Oh
it.
my gosh. Wait,
Um,
say that again. That's
what
very
did I
important
say?
for everyone to hear.
No, I think the biggest thing is as moms, we feel guilty, right? When we
Yes.
ask for help a lot of times because we're like,
Mhm.
well, I don't want them to feel this way, or I don't want to inconvenience somebody, or I don't want to put them out, or well, they're tired too, right? We come up with all of these things. But in those moments when you are in despair, it doesn't matter. And I know it's easier said than done, but I'm telling you, I had to push that
Yeah.
away and say, even if my poor dad has to come out here 3 times a week, my mom and dad are no longer like staying. He would sleep at my house 3 nights out of the week for months. Can you imagine? So I felt so bad about it, but I was like, you know what? I need it. I need this
Yep.
help. I need it. And they're totally offering and being grateful, like totally fine with it. Then I'm not going to be guilty about it, and it took
Yes.
me a bit to work through it, but I did. And I'm so
Oh
grateful.
gosh. Yeah. I mean, if there's somebody out there willing to do that, do not say no. Do not say no.
Yes.
Like, why
Yes.
are you doing that? There's some like motherly pride. We all want to be the martyr or something and say like, look at I did all of this when I was exhausted, but you don't have to. And
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, I
so
think, one of the
don't,
biggest
right?
messages too. Yeah,
Mhm.
like motherhood isn't meant to be done alone, right? Like other cultures, it's not, it's very like take care of the mom, this is a whole community type thing, right? And I don't know if it's, I mean, obviously, I'm sure social media plays a role in it as well, right? With like, just like, oh my gosh, look at my perfect mom life and doing this and that.
Totally.
And, like showing the highlight reel when in
Yes.
reality, motherhood doesn't often look like that. It's
Mhm.
messy and there's ups and
Very
downs. There's
messy.
good days, bad days for both kids and
Mhm.
mom, right? Like we're human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I always really like to highlight that and normalize that.
Yeah. So, what did healing kind of look like for you? You got your dad to come over, husband really
Yeah.
recognized it, and then what helped you get to where you were, where you felt like good again? Are you
Yeah.
still I mean, then you have another baby, so I don't know, like
Yeah, I
let's
could
start with
shed
the
light on
first
that as
one.
well, because
I mean, you're in the middle
that
of
was a big fear.
COVID. You're
Yeah.
in the middle
God.
of COVID, completely unknown. Like I didn't have babies. I had, teens and parents who we were scared to death of. So like you're dealing with that. Husband's gone 4 days a week, which is crazy. And I'm sure, during COVID, there came with so many other things, the fear of them bringing the germs home, all of those things with a newborn. You get to a place where your husband finally checks in and says, okay, I know you're struggling. Let's get your dad over here. Let's do this. When did you feel like, okay, I'm coming out of my depression and my anxiety, and what did the healing look like?
Yeah. I think having a routine and really, well, first of all, I started seeing a therapist. So I think my son was 4 months old when I started seeing my therapist. That was game changer. I did have like I think I saw two different ones. It was a little harder than I thought to
Mhm.
find my therapist. So I always say, hey, like if you are, even when you're pregnant, right? Like be proactive. There's so many things that we get ready for baby, but we kind of overlook ourselves. Like, what am I going to need postpartum? Am I going to need a therapist? Maybe,
Mhm.
right? Maybe I should
Mhm.
just look into it so it's not such a daunting task because when you're depressed and trying to do it, it's much harder. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that in itself was amazing. Having a weekly, session with my therapist. And I think just having a space that I can literally just cry or tell her all of the thoughts and things that were happening and to feel heard and seen and to share without guilt, I think was the big thing because everything I felt had so much guilt tied to it. So that was huge. I think also obviously getting some more sleep was also great. And I didn't mention another aspect of my journey that was really, I think, hard was breastfeeding. So I did nurse my son for I think almost a year and a half. But that first, in the beginning was so hard and he was lactose intolerant. So not only was I not sleeping, I stopped eating all dairy. I
Oh
lost like
gosh.
60 pounds in like eight, like it was like insane. I was like, I don't even know how I'm like still able
Functioning.
to feed you when or
Mhm.
functioning or like, but I look back at pictures and I look like emaciated. I just look like I'm not even there. It's
Yeah.
insane. I look back and I'm like, wow. So that was a whole other thing. So he started cooperating with me with the breastfeeding thing. That was huge. I understood kind of more of like the dairy-free thing. I was still dairy-free, but I accepted it, I guess, and was like, that's cool. And I actually feel better being dairy-free. And now I'm like, maybe I should just be dairy free at like all the time. But yeah, so that was huge. And then one of the biggest things I think that helped me, and of course this was already a little over a year into my journey. Now that I think COVID was already kind of a little bit less like stressful, it was I joined Fit for Mom. I don't know if you've
Uh-huh.
heard of
We
Fit
have
for
one up
Mom.
here. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they're pretty big in
Uh,
California.
They are. There's a lot of them around. So I joined Fit for Mom reluctantly because I was like, I don't know anybody. Like, what am I going to do? What if he freaks out in the stroller? Like, all of the things, right? Um, but I did it anyways. And I was like, I need to get out of this house. I need to do something. I need to move. I need to just meet other moms. And that, I think, honestly saved me. It was such a game changer being able to move my body again, being able to be outside meeting other moms in the same season as me and knowing that I'm
Yes.
not going nuts when these kids are wild, right? Like you see all the kids are being wild, not just mine.
Makes you
So
feel
I
so much
felt
better.
connected. Yes,
Yes,
even though I'm like,
exactly.
sorry, your kid's freaking out too. But I mean, at least they're all crying. So we're in this together, Like, yeah.
Exactly.
So that 100% helped me. I always recommend fit for mom when I can
That's
to friends
yeah.
and anybody.
It's a great program. We have a couple in my area, and I know it's especially around the COVID time, it was a big deal 'cause it was like you're outside, you're exercising, you still have the baby with you, but everybody has a baby with them. So,
Mhm.
like you said, it's just finding that community and really, even though it makes you uncomfortable, you know it's going to help. So you got to stick
Mhm.
with it and do it, and it's a total game changer, 100%.
Yeah,
Um, let's go back to the department for a second. So you talked about your husband had paternity leave. What's their paternity paternity leave like? And how did they treat your husband while he was
gone.
while you were going through this?
Yeah. So, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think it was the same with my daughter as well, they get 12 weeks.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but I think it was 12 weeks. So both times, I believe he took 6 weeks to start with, and then he had a whole year to use the rest of the 6 weeks that he had
Hmm.
remaining. So we
Hmm.
kind of would like sprinkle them here, there, or take it when he really needed it. When I was like, please
Yeah.
don't go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we used it both times. The first time, I don't think there was any really issue. They just said, this is one thing I do remember, something about like, try not to take it during the holidays, even though I was like,
Mhm.
it's his first Christmas, like you have to take it, like that whole thing. Um, so he was like, no, like I can't, like that'll look really bad, like we don't want to screw everybody over, which I totally understood. But what ended up happening, and that I think I was 8 months pregnant at the time. During Christmas, we both got COVID. So he ended up not
Oh,
this
he
was
couldn't
when I
go to
was
work
pregnant,
anyways. Yeah.
but the following year, he did go to work. I think it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, one of them. And they were really gracious to try to get everybody to at least have one of the days off,
Oh,
so
that's
that
good.
everyone could be home either or.
Oh,
So
that's
I
great.
at least had him, I believe, Christmas Day. Um, so that was really lovely. This time around, I think it was fine as well. I'm trying to think.
Such a
I'm
blur,
like,
huh?
I know, well, because he started his new position as captain in November, and my daughter was born in June. So I think it was already passed. I
Yeah.
think he did still have some time left, but he started November um, of last year, and then 2 months later, into his captainship, the Palisades fire happened, and he was gone for 20 days.
Oh
So
my
I
goodness.
was like, oh my gosh, like this is wild, because he went from a city engine to being on the B side again, the wildland side, which he's done the wildland side for a long time, but he was on a city engine for about 5 years. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I remember that side of things, and I'm used to the city side of things now, where you're not going to go on these crazy wildfires. And he's like, oh, but it's January. It's fine. It's not going to be until the summer.
Oh boy.
Were we wrong?
Surprise.
Yes. Yeah. So
Oh
my daughter was
God.
7 months old. I was like, I had both of them for 20
20
days
days
by
straight.
myself.
Oi.
Yeah, it
Oh
was
my gosh.
wild. Again, I had support from my parents, which was amazing. But still, it's different. Your partner's gone.
Completely.
The
Were
stress
you
of the
still working
unknown.
too? Did you have patients during that time too?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for mom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a lot for sure. And I think also just the stress, and as a fire wife, like we try not to have those thoughts and those anxieties of like, well, is he okay? Is he okay? And checking the phone, checking his location. And I would try to see, I'm like, okay, it looks like he's in the green. Okay, did he move? And I would check to see if it moved. And I'm like, okay, he's safe. I can't call him, you know? And that was an adjustment as well, going from being able to call him, text him whenever I wanted while he's at the firehouse, to I have no communication with him until who knows when.
Yeah.
So that was a big one for me.
Still my least favorite part of it. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard.
okay. The US, as we know, lags behind a lot of countries with comparable income when it comes to postpartum care. We have the highest maternal mortality rate, no guaranteed paid parental leave, and no universal access to healthcare, mental health care, and access to postpartum home visits. If you could redesign postpartum care in our country, what is the first thing you would change?
Oof.
I know.
Honestly, I know. I'm like, all of it. No. Um,
Totally. That's me. I'm like, every single piece. Like, this is terrible. Like,
it's wild. I think the idea that moms would be going back to work, I think I've had clients where they're like, I have to go back at 6 weeks or something insane. There's no way. That's not even a question. I think the idea of even having to go back to work or the worry about having to go back to work that early postpartum should not be even on our brains. I
yeah.
think I would give it the first year to be like, you need to focus on your baby, on the adjustments, because let's be honest, there's a lot of adjustments, not just, throughout the entire year, right?
Hmm.
Their first year and then some. But that first year is really challenging. So I think being able to have that time off, paid time off, and not have to worry about that, having access to all the care that they need and the education that they need about postpartum and maybe incorporating, what does postpartum look like and things to really look out for when it comes to postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, because again, a lot of moms don't understand it. I will say society or the media and stuff has done a better job and we're talking more
Yeah.
about maternal mental health, which is amazing. But there is still some misconceptions, about what postpartum depression is. And I still get that, like, oh, I thought, if I talk about postpartum depression, they're going to think I want to hurt my baby or they're going to take my baby away. Or, all those women who hurt their babies had postpartum depression. Like there's a lot of that connection when that's a misconception, right? Like postpartum depression does not always mean that you want to hurt yourself or hurt your baby. That's a very extreme part of it. And often those horrible stories that we hear on the news are not postpartum depression, but postpartum psychosis, right?
Psychosis.
Where
Hmm.
there's, just a break from reality, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's completely different. So I think having knowledge on what this is, and not just depression, but anxiety, OCD is a huge one, like knowing what these are and what to look for, it would be so helpful. And then, of course, having the resources at our hands to treat them.
Concepts.
Yes. Yes. My goodness. But yeah, absolutely. I would change that timeline to a year. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't even imagine trying to go
My
back at
my first one, I was 11 weeks postpartum and I went back to work. And I mean, I was lucky because I was only 15 minutes away. And I would come home on my lunch and breastfeed and then come home at 4:30 and breastfeed and then take care of, the baby. And um I was I can't even say, I'm not going to say I was lucky, but I was very glad that my husband was not even a firefighter yet because I literally, by the time I got to my third and he was in his third year with the department, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is crazy. I couldn't, oh my gosh, no, it's too much.
no,
Yeah, nobody should be forced to go back to work that early. I just think it's
no.
absolutely insane. You're
We're not
totally right.
even in our right minds most of the time, right? Like
No.
we're still so sleep deprived, period. We're still trying to figure out feeding, whether it's normal feeding. Some babies have issues with that. There's issues with all kinds of things that can come up postpartum, right?
Hmm.
Um, so being separated from your baby when you don't want to be is so hard. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
not to mention, like, our hormones aren't even back to normal
Oh,
level yet.
oh
Like,
gosh.
there's
Yes,
so
yes,
many factors.
hormones
Mhm.
are huge, huge, huge impact on postpartum depression and anxiety. And
Yeah.
I like to remind moms of that too, right? Like if you are struggling, you're not alone, first of all, but also there's a lot of things going on in your body that you're not in control of. I wish we can control our hormones with a little knob, right? Like, yep, too much, tone it down. But
Mhm.
we can't. It's out of our control a lot of the times, especially if we're nursing or, whatever it might be. There's just a lot of stuff that we can't control, for sure.
Yep. Totally. Okay. What would you say or what would you recommend to a mom who maybe wants to ask for help, but they're uncomfortable, ashamed, scared? What would you say to them to get them to seek help?
Well, first of all, I would wanna know where that's coming from, right? Like, what are you afraid of judgment from your family, from your spouse? Are you just scared yourself? Like, where's that coming from? But also, I think recognizing that we need help is the first step, right? And normalizing that. Like, "Hey, this is hard. You're going through a lot of adjustments as a mom, right? And we need to recognize that. And you're not the only one that's going to struggle. We're all struggling. We're all in this together, kind of thing."
Hmm.
But also just, I guess, reiterating the importance of the faster that you are able to recognize it and get the help, the faster you're going to feel better. And you don't have to suffer in your motherhood. You don't have to, right? That's, I think, one of the biggest messages is like, oh, well, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And I should be feeling like this. And, the saying where you're shooting all over yourself, right? We,
I
it,
like that.
it's easy to get in that, right? It's easy to get in that spiral of I should be doing this as a mom. And, I've been there, I've done that. But recognizing, wait, who's saying that? Is it my
Yeah.
own pressure that I'm putting on myself, right? And what would it mean if I got help? Does that mean I'm not a good mom? Does that mean I'm not good enough? Does it mean I'm, weak? So there's a lot of underlying connotations to somebody who might be, I think, did you say scared or,
Embarrassed,
reluctant
ashamed,
to get
reluctant,
help?
all of
Yeah.
those. Hmm.
Yeah, I think there's stigma for sure with getting therapy sometimes, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're getting into a bit better space with it,
Yeah.
and understanding what therapy is.
How can moms advocate for themselves better with healthcare providers?
Oh, I think I was where was I listening to this? I don't remember, but someone was talking about like the depression scale that most of us get like the 6 weeks, every month, kind of whenever we take the baby, we take the scale. And someone was saying like, oh, like I kept like it was clear that I was, struggling, but nobody really, was saying anything.
Hmm.
So I think if you feel or everyone kept saying it's fine, it's normal, it's hormone, it's baby blues, everyone struggles, right? Yes, everyone struggles. However, if you're in distress and you feel like you're suffering, like you're not enjoying your motherhood, you don't have to just suffer because people keep saying it's normal, right? There's things that are common, things that most of us experience. However, if it's really distressful to you, then you don't have to take it's normal for an answer. You can say, well, it might be normal, but for me, I don't want to feel this way anymore. And I want some help, right? And I'm hoping that the doctors or the nurses or whoever you're talking to will be able to provide you with those resources. Um, One of the biggest resources that's out there for maternal mental health and postpartum stuff is oh my gosh, Postpartum Support International. So PSI, they're huge. They have so many resources for moms dealing with all types of mood disorders. They have groups that you can join, even based on like infertility or just tons of topics. They even have a crisis number that you can call if you are in crisis. There's just an immense amount of information on that website. I think,
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
trying
I've
to
never heard of them.
yeah, postpartum.net is they have support groups, peer mentor programs, and the hotline, just I mean all of it. And even for therapists who want to specialize, I guess that's where you would go. Is postpartum.net. So
Okay.
highly recommend going there if you want some help or even to read about it. There's all of it.
Yeah.
Everything's there. Yeah.
We'll put those in the show notes for sure because that
Yeah,
is
I could
an
send you.
important one.
Yes.
Um, okay, I put a question box up on Instagram today, and
Mhm.
we have a couple questions from the crew. Um, how do you handle PPD as a fire family? I think you kind of explained that in the beginning. Um, what would you say to a mom who's just like powering through, especially married to a firefighter? It's so
Honestly,
tricky, I know.
yeah, because everybody's different, right? Everybody's firefighter is different. But I will say the biggest thing is communication. Communication is key. I know it's cliche, but it's so, so true. If we are just powering through and we're just trying to, I don't know, pretend that we don't need any help, right? I would say stop it and go ask your firefighter for help. And I know myself, I do this too, where I'm like, oh my gosh, but he was on shift all day and like, or for 3 days or whatever it is, and I'm like, I don't want to, whatever. He's tired.
Yeah, yeah,
But I have to tell myself, wait a minute, like he was on shift there. I was on shift here. I'm tired too. Right. And my husband's very gracious in that he totally gets that. And the minute he comes in, he'll say, what do you need me to do? What can I do? What can I help you with? That's the first thing out of his mouth. And I'm like, first of all, hi.
right?
First of all, right? But I know, and most of us will know when our husbands have had a horrible night. Hopefully they're able to communicate again, communicate that to you. So I know, okay, I might have had a really crappy day, but he's been up all night. So I'm going to have the expectation that he's going to come home and go to sleep. Right.
Mhm.
So I think having clear expectations of what you um, expect from each other and what maybe he might say, okay, hey, I might come home and just want to lay down for 30 minutes. Even though maybe we want them to come home and be like, here, like I need to go have some time for myself, right? But knowing, okay, he's gonna come home, he's gonna shower and he's gonna lay down for 30 minutes and then he'll come and totally engage.
Yeah,
Right. But if he doesn't communicate that with you, you're gonna be like, what the heck? Like I was expecting you to come home and help me right away. And now you're in the shower and I want to shower, right? And then resentment starts breeding.
yep,
So I think clear expectations and communication is the biggest thing.
1000%. I could not agree more with that statement. There are things I wish I knew 15 years ago. Could have been extremely helpful, but that's okay. We're teaching other people how to do it. Okay, this one's actually really good. What are some essentials new moms need for themselves once they're
Mm.
at home with the newborn?
Mm.
Like,
Like,
we always get, like we get everything for the baby.
mhm.
We don't get anything for ourselves. Like, what would you say, like, is a good, like, starting point for someone to say, like, you should have this, not even, it doesn't even have to be like something tangible. It could just be like you said, you had support, right?
A
You
bed. No, I'm
had,
kidding. A pillow, an eye mask, and a sound machine. That is what you need
I
because
love
that
all
is what
three of
you're gonna
those.
need. I need I need a sound machine to sleep now, always. But honestly, a sound machine because when somebody takes the baby to say, "You go rest, go do something," we're always like, "What are they doing? Do they need me? Does the baby need me?" Right? Like we're always on. And I had to turn on the sound machine to be like, I don't want to hear it. Like if you have the baby, I have to trust and let go of that control that you have the baby and I will be in here watching my shows or resting, sleeping, whatever it is, listening to a podcast, taking a bath, right? Um, but I know that they're safe, they're okay. But something else, let me think. Hmm. I think just all of the things that you like. Maybe you can have like a special drawer. I think that would be fun. If you had a special drawer with like things that you really enjoy that make you happy, right? Um, of course, for me, it would be food, something food related. Chocolate. I keep chocolate
Like
hidden. I'm
candy.
like, what would I put in there? Yeah, exactly, candy. But
Mhm.
seriously, right? Like sometimes we just need to like open a drawer and have some M&Ms and sit on our bed or sit on the floor, whatever, and just be with ourselves and our own
Yes.
thoughts.
That's actually brilliant. Yeah, like, put a book in there or, like,
Yeah,
some,
I love.
like,
Essential
affirmations.
oils.
Yes, all of
Yes.
that. That's such a
Yes.
good idea. Like the mom drawer when I need to go and like take 10 minutes for myself or 15 minutes for myself.
Yep.
That is
Yeah.
so good.
And I
I
think
love
doing
that.
that, I think it would be so fun to do that before you have the baby because you're of clear mind to know the things that you love and the things that make you happy. Because I hear a lot of the times after, once we have the baby, we're like, I don't remember what I used to love. I don't remember like my whole life and everything is taking care of the baby and, just trying to sleep or
Mhm.
whatnot. But if we open the door and be like, "Oh yeah, I used to, I love that. Let me do that." And it
Mhm.
kind of brings you back like, okay, you're still in there, which is a big message that moms tell me like I've lost my identity. I'm only a mom, you know,
Yep.
which yeah, that's tough.
It's very tough, but it is so true. It's so true. Okay. Last question. I ask everybody on the pod this question. What legacy do you hope to leave in your job, in your family, with your kids? What's your legacy? It's
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh. Let me think. Oh shoot.
Mhm. I mean, what you're doing right now is pretty amazing, so that's a pretty
I'm
good
like,
legacy to
I mean,
leave.
obviously, what I'm doing and just making sure that moms know that they're not alone, but just in general, right? Like doing something that brings you passion that is helpful for other people. And I think obviously my husband does the same thing, right? In the fire service. He's passionate about and he helps other people and I do the same thing. So I think instilling that in our kids and leaving that as a legacy is making sure that you are doing something in life that brings you passion and that is just good for society, right? Like we want to make
Yeah,
a difference in that way. Um, and it's, even if it's just one person that you help, you do your best, right? And do in helping that one person. So
exactly.
I think that's
Exactly.
what would be my legacy.
Okay, so and tell me about your practice. You are in person
hmm
and Zoom, right?
Yeah, so I am part-time, obviously, because I have full-time children.
Yes,
um,
full-time mommy.
so
Mhm.
yeah, so I do have my office in Brea, right? Kind of close to the Brea Mall. And then I see clients virtually. So this is what you would see. I'm in my home. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I do. I started my private practice, I believe my son was 1.
Okay.
So that was 2022. I decided like I need to do something. And of course I came across, I think actually one of my friends was like, "Oh, like she's a maternal mental health." And I was like, "What? Like what is that? I need to do that. Like that's what I want to do." And I just went down the rabbit hole and started doing all of the trainings, all of the things, the conferences and the just all of it. I immersed myself in it because I was like, I that's me. Like I want to be able to help the other moms who felt like me because
Mhm.
we shouldn't have to feel like that as moms, you know? So that's a little bit about my practice. Can I also talk a little bit about New Mom School because that is it's
Yes.
newer
Yeah.
and obviously Fit for Mom's been around for a while. New Mom School, I like you said, I wish they had them or maybe they did. I just didn't know it was COVID, so it didn't matter anyway because it's in person. But they just start franchising. So the original one I believe is in Newport Beach, but I work at the one in Rancho Cucamonga. I think is the first like one that opened. So it's basically like classes and like a series of classes for new moms. So they have like the newborn class, the infant class, the rising toddler class, second time mom class. So there's a bunch of different classes and it's like an 8-week series and each week is a different topic. So they'll have like a sleep consultant. I go in and teach about postpartum depression and anxiety for new moms and for the second time moms. There's like a breastfeeding consultant, a safety consultant. Like there's a bunch of different people and just topics that they cover that are really, really helpful. And it's like a cohort of moms that you meet every week. So you get that community, right? Which is so huge as new
That is so
moms
cool.
to be able to connect with other moms. And mind you, they do it in such a way that it's like the month of the baby that you were born, the month that the babies were born in are all together. So all the
Oh,
babies are
so
about the same
cool.
age. So everyone's going through the same thing. So yeah, if you can, I always highly recommend looking to see if there's a new mom school near you, because it's amazing. It's a really great resource to have.
We'll put that in the show notes too, because that sounds really cool, and now I'm gonna
It's
have to look
so
it up and see if
fun.
they have it. Is
I
it a
know.
nonprofit or is a franchise, you said?
It's a franchise.
Okay,
Yeah, but yeah, they have lots of really cool things. I think they also have a weekly, breastfeeding support or feeding support as well. They talk not just about breastfeeding, but, yeah, weekly, and I think that one's free. So,
that's awesome. That's really cool.
mhm.
Okay, we'll check them out. That's really, really cool. You said you teach the postpartum?
Yeah, so I teach a class
Nice.
on postpartum, anxiety and depression, and we kind of, process. We talk about, the different, symptoms of postpartum depression, anxiety, what to look for, that sort of thing. So
That's rad.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I had so much fun, and we could probably talk for another hour, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, but we don't want to keep everybody for too long. So, thank you so much again, Amanda. Oh, what's your social handle?
So
What's your
I
Instagram?
kind of just started it, so be, I guess, gracious with me because I was like, "Do I wanna start Instagram? I don't know."
I know.
But it's Wholehearted Mama Therapy. Um, so that's where I'm at, Wholehearted Mama Therapy on Instagram. I'm only on Instagram right now. You could also find me on Psychology Today, the directory. If you want to look at my link is on my Instagram bio for that as well. If you wanted to try to reach out to book an appointment with me. But yeah,
Excellent.
I'm so excited to be here and talk to everybody. And honestly, I think the biggest message is you guys are all doing amazing. You're all great moms as much as we want to downplay what we're doing, right? Every single
Mhm.
one of you is doing the best that you can, and it's enough. So,
I
yeah.
completely agree with you. And that we will end it right there because that was an amazing segue. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.